Hello, my name is Hope Olmstead. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, I guess just one video at this point. And about a month or so ago I started doing like a video journal, and was planning on posting a little bit more frequently than this, but some events have kind of happened, and I had surgery on my arm, and so life's been a little hectic. So haven't really had another chance to post recently. But my cousin has actually asked me to kind of share my story. She's kind of given me freedom, which has been cool, so she can post it on her blog. She asked me to kind of share my story of kind of what's gotten me here today. So I guess here goes nothing. So first of all, I guess I want to start out with saying kind of the basis of my story is a lot about dealing with mental health issues and just dealing with life in general. I guess we can all kind of relate to that. But I guess so, thinking back on my life, I grew up in a Christian home where we went to church pretty much every time the doors were open, and then I also went to a Christian school all my life. I've never been to a public school. So yeah, if that kind of gives a little bit of background into that, that Jesus has been a part of my life in everything that I've done. I don't have a memory without God being in it. So yeah, if that makes sense. I'm kind of going to preface everything that I'm going to say through that lens. I'm not a Christian just because of the circumstances surrounding me. I'm a Christian because of my own personal choice to say that I choose to love God back because He loves me. Yeah, if that makes sense, I guess I'm going to kind of start with my journey. I'm not really sure what all I'm going to share, but I guess we'll see. So, I'm going to kind of start back to where I first kind of noticed or kind of thought differently of myself. So around 11 or 12, when I was 11 or 12 years old, I really didn't feel quote unquote normal or like I should feel. I guess so. During that time, I was going through a really hard time at school with a lot of kids. I was being really bullied at the time. I honestly don't even remember some years during that time because I've kind of repressed some memories, and so kind of during that time is when I first had thoughts that were that I would say were pretty unhealthy. First, kind of when I think back, kind of thoughts of being depressed or whatever. Not really knowing what that meant, not really ever really having any sort of conversation about mental health, and it was kind of taboo at that point. It was like, you don't talk about it, or at least that's what I thought. And I didn't really want to admit to feeling different or feeling sad, because I'm a very, very happy person in general. That's kind of who I am. I'm just a very excitable person, so it's people can always kind of tell when I am sad or when I do have an emotion other than happiness or whatever. So even as a young kid, I kind of knew that, expectation that I had, that I needed to be perfect or to be happy or whatever, or so I thought. That's what people expected of me. So I guess kind of at that time I really started feeling really different and really hurt, really depressed of really almost every day, being really bullied for various things. Details don't really matter in that, just understanding that I was really, really, really hurt for a lot of days, a lot of times. And no person should ever have to go through that. So kind of in that time, with going through the motions of dealing with this bullying, it seemed almost constant. It was when I first kind of began to almost hate myself because I thought everyone else did too. Everybody else was mean to me, so I figured I should be mean to myself as well, in a way. So about when I was 12, I would say that's when I first started to realize that I wanted to harm myself in a physical way. Seemed almost like something that I could control, when it seemed like everybody else that I just wanted to be friends with wanted to hurt me in a very emotional and mental way, and even physical at a couple points. So it was kind of my way of controlling things, but also my way of getting back at myself for not being what these bullies or what these other classmates wanted me to be. And so that was a really dark time, as I think about the fact that my husband's a youth pastor right now, and I'm a youth leader in the youth group, and I think about some of the girls who are that age, and I see just how young they are, and then I see myself in that stage of life and think, wow, I felt the weight of the world at that age, and felt like I had no help, and felt like I couldn't ask for help because I was really good at keeping it hidden. I don't know where I learned that skill, but I was really good at that for a long time, of pretending to be perfect, pretending to be fine, to not telling anybody, hey, I'm really struggling. It's not just, oh, these kids are picking on me, oh, it's whatever, No, I was hurting. So I guess from that, I've learned a valuable lesson that it's never okay to be mean to anyone, to hate anyone for who they are, for how they dress, for how they look. There's just no excuse for meanness, and that is something I am extremely passionate about, and that is something I will not tolerate. So kind of moving forward a couple years from that, the bullying got so bad that I actually moved schools. I couldn't handle it anymore, and my folks saw that, and they were willing to help a girl out, and got me transferred to a different school. Unfortunately, as far as I know, nobody faced any consequences for anything. And that's kind of when I kind of felt really worthless, was just, it didn't really matter what happened to me. So, fast forward to going to a new school, and I thought everything was just going to be better. It was just those people. It was just that time in my life. And then I thought everything was just going to be perfect. And then, unfortunately, it wasn't, because life is never perfect. There's always something. It doesn't matter the situation or circumstance. There's always going to be something that isn't perfect. So, life was okay for a while, and thought I was doing really well, and not really dealing with a whole lot of the depressive side of things. I didn't really know what that meant at that time even. But then when I was about 17, kind of went through the ringer again, and kind of had people really gang up on me, students and parents, and even if people who were my authorities, really coming after me, and really just took a toll on me. And so much so that I got so ruined by this time in my life that it stressed me out so bad, to the point where I experienced my first panic attack, my first anxiety attack. That was something I had never felt before. Family members or other people who I had talked to, they'd said that they had felt anxious before, but I didn't ever really know what that meant. I just kind of thought, oh, that's nervousness that you get. No, but this was true anxiety. It was a moment, or this string of moments where I couldn't breathe, where I couldn't think. I thought I was going to die because I was in this attack where I couldn't control my body, my mind. And that's, at that point, was the lowest point I'd been at, because I had no idea what was going on. So through that, I developed severe anxiety. And also during that time, I also developed TMJ, because my body was under so much stress. So TMJ is where your jaw actually locks up. And during that time, I developed that because I was under such stress that my jaw actually locked up, and that's something I still have to deal with every day, with the pain of that and not being able to fully use my jaw the way a person should. And that was quite a few years ago. So, but even more so than that, I would say the anxiety that developed during that time has been one of the hardest to deal with. So eventually things got resolved, or at least pushed off to the side to where it was enough to where I could ignore it, or at least not tell anybody about it. Really able to keep it hidden because I needed to be this perfect person for everybody else. I thought that's what people wanted me to be, was not talk about it. Not talk about my depressive thoughts or my anxious heart. So I kept quiet. I didn't say anything, and secretly and quietly I would have panic attacks, and I would feel really, really, really down. And at that, I'm still a kid, and I had no idea what any of that meant. And so I didn't really reach out. I didn't know that I needed to. I didn't know that I needed help. I just thought I was an emotional teenager. So eventually, about a year later, or so. I'm in my senior year of high school. And I thank God for the people that were in my life that year. Some really, really solid people in my life who saw me for me, who didn't expect me to be perfect, who really tried to understand who I was as a person and saw worth in me when I thought that I was worthless, that I didn't really matter other than to do things for other people. That's all I thought I was worth for. I didn't think I had any individual help or any individual worth to this world, except for to add to other people's worth. I thought I was pointless, and that I didn't matter. So I'm so grateful for the people in my life who told me that I was worth it and that I was a world changer. It truly gave me purpose and showed me that I was worth more than a perfect facade. Fast forward to graduation. So excited to be done with high school. And in the fall, I moved to Minnesota, hundreds of miles away, 13 hours away from where I grew up. And I thought, great, a new start, something fresh. And it felt great, it really did, because I had decided that I was not going to be confined anymore. That I wasn't going to care what other people thought anymore. Threw caution to the wind and be who I was. Be who I am. And that was one of the most freeing experiences ever. To just be myself, and people appreciated that. Sure, there's people who think I'm a weirdo, but I think so too. But it was a really freeing experience to realize I don't have to be judgmental. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be whatever anybody else thinks I should be. I just have to be me, and I have to love God. And that was so beautiful. So as I was learning this about myself and having this new kind of self-discovery, I started classes, and it was my freshman year of college where everything's new and exciting, and I lived in Minneapolis, and you know, it was so different than anything I had ever experienced. And I loved it. And then in my second year, at the end of my second year, I ended up getting a job and moved there, and I absolutely just adored what I did. And then eventually I got involved in too many things, trying to be in two places at once, and started that vicious cycle of trying to be everything to everyone for them and not for myself, and I spread myself too thin. So that started kind of taking a toll of realizing I can't juggle everything, and that really got to me that I still could not be perfect. Even after having this new idea of who I wanted and needed to be, I still wasn't quite measuring up. So, I guess during that time, I really kind of something triggered my mind for a lot of anxiety and a lot of depressive thoughts. First kind of started with, oh no, someone feels depressed. What if I feel depressed again? Oh no, this person feels anxious. What if I keep having even more panic attacks? Because those never stopped. In the midst of all of this, I was still very, very present. It was just a matter of not telling anybody about it. And from going from what if someone feels this way, and what if I feel this way, it kind of dominoed effect into I'm scared of feeling this way. I feel this way. I feel like I'm worthless. I feel like I'm going to hurt myself again. I feel like I want to. I am going to. And that's when I was scared out of my mind. So much so that I had to stop on the interstate. I literally had to stop on the side of the road in tears, bawling, because I could not function. Because all of these thoughts were coming at once. Something so out of my control, I could not do it alone anymore. So I called some of my family members, and they literally had to drive an hour away from where they were to pick me up off the side of the road because I was afraid I was going to do something that I would have regretted for the rest of my life. From there, that's finally the moment it took me to realize that I need some help. I can't keep stuffing things down. I can't keep pretending that things aren't there. I can't keep this to myself anymore. Because it's obviously not working. So, I was able to go to the doctor. I started seeing a therapist as well too, which helped immensely. I think everybody should be in therapy. I don't care if you don't think you have issues. Everybody should be in therapy. We all have issues. But after seeing my doctor and realizing that they thought that being on an antidepressant and anti-anxiety medication was the best course of action along with therapy, really, really screwed me up. Or at least messed me up at the moment. I thought I was broken. And I honestly thought that I was never going to be whole again. I thought there was something wrong with me because I had to depend on a medication to fix my brain. I never thought I knew anybody who had ever dealt with anything like that. Other than, people being anxious, I understood that, but I never knew anybody who had ever been on medication for this sort of thing. I always thought that, okay, you're depressed, you need to be joyful, you need to get these thoughts out of your head. That's easy, right? Don't be anxious. Breathe through it. It's okay. Everything's going to be fine. Easier said than done. So I'd already thought something was wrong with me because I had these issues, but then also the fact that I couldn't fix them myself made things so much worse. So here I am sitting in my vehicle after getting prescribed these medications, not wanting to take a pill, thinking that I was absolutely crazy because I had to. I didn't know anybody who had taken them, and if anybody had shared that with me, they said that they were like a zombie when they took them, that they didn't feel like themselves, and that they were numb and cloudy. And I didn't want that at all. I just wanted to feel normal. I wanted to feel okay. And so I remember calling my mom and calling my sisters and, trying to get a grasp or an understanding and trying to get their input and their hearts and their love for me. And I talked to one person who is very, very special to me. And they confided in me that they had also struggled with things very similar to mine, and that they had been on medication. And I had no idea. Because they were silent until they shared that with me. And I don't think I would have had the courage to actually try to take hold of my health and to try to feel better without them opening up to me. I felt so alone until they said, "No, I've been there too. I've been in your position. I've had to take that step to get professional help." And that's what helped direct me to say, "No, it's okay. You're not crazy. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get help." Because never would you reject help for an infection or a broken arm even. So why do we think of mental health so differently? So from there, I started taking a medication, not really knowing what to expect. Being really leery of it and afraid I was going to feel like a zombie or whatever. And the first week of taking my medication, I thought I was going to die. My brain was getting all the chemicals that it needed, and it had no idea what to do with them. And through that, I definitely learned a lot about myself, and I thought, okay, I'm getting better. And then there was one point where I literally couldn't function anymore because I just wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't doing everything I needed to be doing. I was still stretching myself too thin. I kind of reached a rock bottom at that point, and I literally, like I said, I couldn't function anymore. So at that point, I dropped out of school. I had to quit the job that I loved so much. And I literally stopped my life. I basically quit everything and stopped everything that I was working towards. because I couldn't take care of myself. I couldn't do anything. And so I ended up just basically not being able to do much of anything. So realizing that I needed help, so I ended up actually, going to therapy more, actually taking my medication, and after doing that for a while, I thought, yeah, this is great. Life started to finally get better. I got engaged, and then eventually, through that, still fighting, this battle, but I thought, I just kind of kept stuffing it in. I thought that's what worked. or thought that I was normal, and really just not really talking about it anymore. Made it seem a little bit better, like out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. So we're planning our wedding, and everything seems great, and then we get married last March in 2017, and I feel on top of the world. Our wedding day was the best day of my life, and then as life goes on, I got a new job. I guess a little bit before we got married, but I loved it, and then life seemed to be doing okay. Wasn't really seeing a therapist anymore, and it was basically just like, all right, take your happy pill, and everything's good, right? On the outside, people would think, wow, her life's perfect. Wow, she's got a husband. She's got, eventually we bought a house, and everything just seemed really perfect on the outside. And I think I'd fooled myself thinking that it was perfect. But then I think I had just let everything bottle up just too far, to where everything kept coming up and coming up and coming up, and it was the straw that broke the camel's back that led to really life-altering decision that I tried to make in April of this year. And kind of an event happened that it made me go down this dark, scary spiral really, really fast, to where I tried to take my own life. And thinking about it, sometimes it still doesn't even seem real that happened. And feeling that low point of just feeling so worthless in the moment, because I didn't want to say anything, that I was feeling depressed, or that I was so anxious that I couldn't handle life anymore. I was keeping quiet because I needed to be perfect for myself, to be perfect for other people. I didn't get it. And I was just quiet and didn't say anything and didn't ask for help. And it got to the boiling point where I had to be hospitalized in a mental health unit for a week because I was not okay. And through that of missing work and of just stopping life for a while, and thinking even back to that and how it's still affecting my life, And just trying to understand that I am not worthless, and that I'm worth actually so much, and that my life matters. And not only my life, but the life of literally everyone else. And the fact that I know I'm not alone anymore. The fact that I am able to speak out now, because that is what kept me confined for so long. I kept going back to thinking, this is great, but then when it's not, keeping it bottled in and inside, and it just always ends up exploding. And the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. And I'm not going to do that anymore. I know that I am not alone, and that's why I am speaking out. That's why I am sharing my story. So I can love God, and I can love people, and I can bridge that gap by loving myself. That I can be there for other people, that other people can know that you are not alone. You need to speak up. No one can read your mind, because anyone could think that my life was great, that I was doing just fine. I even fooled myself into thinking that. But you have to say something. Now, I'm a few months removed from being hospitalized. And by no means is life perfect or even remotely back to normal, whatever normal is. But I'm sharing my story to show that I am worth it. I have a purpose. But moreover, to know that you have a purpose and you are on this planet for a reason. I know that my story is going to be different than other people's stories, and I want to hear every person's story if I can. But I know that I'm here for a reason, and I'm here to share my story.